the lively town of Umunse, where the streets buzzed with merchants and the air smelled of fresh spices, there lived a wealthy gentleman named Oba Adisa. His grand mansion, perched atop the hill overlooking the market, was the talk of the town. It was said that Oba Adisa's wealth could rival that of kings, with gold-filled bags stacked in his storeroom like sacks of grain. Word of his fortune spread far and wide, reaching even the ears of Bayo, a cunning thief who roamed from town to town in search of his next score. When Bayo overheard two merchants gossiping about Oba Adisa's riches, he knew he had found his next target. "He's careless," one merchant whispered. "He counts his gold every night, right by an open window." That evening, Bayo crept to the mansion under the cover of darkness. Scaling the outer wall with ease, he slipped into Oba Adisa's bedroom through the very window the merchants had mentioned. The room was grand, with silk curtains and polished wooden furniture, but Bayo's eyes locked on the large chest at the corner of the room. As luck would have it, Oba Adisa entered moments later, carrying a key. Unaware of the thief lurking behind the curtain, he opened the chest and began counting his bags of gold. 1, 2, 3, 20, Oba Adisa muttered, his voice low but filled with satisfaction. Bayo smirked. "So much gold, and he leaves his window wide open? This will be easy." Just as Oba Adisa locked the chest and stepped out to fetch something, Bayo seized his chance. Swiftly he slipped from his hiding spot, opened the chest, and grabbed 2 heavy bags of gold. The weight made his heart race, but he darted back out the window and vanished into the night without a sound. When Oba Adisa returned moments later, he noticed immediately that something was off. The chest, though locked, had a faint scratch by the keyhole. His hands trembled as he unlocked it again, and his worst fear was confirmed. 2 bags of gold were missing. "Thieves!" he shouted, though the empty room offered no answer. By morning, the theft had spread through Umunse like wildfire. Merchants whispered, guards doubled their patrols, and Oba Adisa, humiliated and furious, vowed to catch the culprit. Meanwhile, Bayo celebrated his success in a hidden corner of the town, already dreaming of the luxurious life the stolen gold would bring him. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of his troubles. The morning after the theft, Oba Adisa's anger simmered like a pot left too long on the fire. The once busy streets outside his mansion now felt like a stage, with every passerby a potential suspect. Determined not to let the thief escape unpunished, he set out into the town, his sharp eyes scanning for anything unusual. Near the edge of the market square, he noticed a man standing under a palm tree. The man, though trying to appear casual, seemed overly anxious. He glanced around nervously, clutching a small sack slung over his shoulder. It was Bayo. Oba Adisa's instincts stirred. He approached, keeping his tone friendly but his eyes sharp. "Good morning, stranger," he said. "You seem unsettled. Is everything all right?" Bayo fumbled with his words. Yes, just passing through, Busy town, so much noise." His voice trailed off as his gaze avoided Oba Adisa's. The wealthy man's suspicion deepened. "Busy indeed, especially for thieves," he said, watching closely for a reaction. At the mention of thieves, Bayo's shoulders stiffened. He forced a laugh, though it sounded hollow. "Ah, terrible business, isn't it? Who would dare rob someone in this town?" Oba Adisa narrowed his eyes but said nothing more. Without evidence, he couldn't accuse the man outright. Yet his gut told him this stranger was no innocent traveler. Determined to seek justice, he went straight to the home of Chief Amara, the village judge. By noon, word had spread that Oba Adisa was taking his case to Chief Amara's court. Townsfolk gathered near the small building, eager to hear more about the theft. Bayo, hearing of this, felt the first true pang of fear. He knew Oba Adisa's wealth gave him influence, and Chief Amara's reputation for fairness meant there would be no easy way out. Desperate, he sought out Kweku, a wise man known for his clever solutions to impossible problems. Kweku's home was a modest hut, tucked away from the busy streets. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and incense. The wise man, with his gray beard and piercing eyes, listened as Bayo poured out his troubles, carefully omitting the part about the stolen gold. I need help, Bayo said, his voice trembling. I'm accused of something I didn't do. Kekweku studied him for a long moment before speaking. You come to me not because you're innocent, but because you're afraid. Am I wrong? Bayo hesitated, but eventually shook his head. No, you're right, I'm guilty. But if I'm caught, my life is over. The wise man's lips curled into a faint smile. I can help you escape punishment, but my help comes at a cost, half of whatever you've stolen. Bayo's jaw tightened. He didn't want to part with any of his newfound wealth, but what choice did he have? Fine, he muttered. I'll pay you. Good, Kweku said. Then listen carefully. If you wish to avoid conviction, you must become someone no one will take seriously. What do you mean? Bayo asked, confused. You'll act mad, Kweku explained. Dress in rags, mess up your hair, and respond to all questions with one word: moo. If the court believes you're insane, no judge will hold you accountable. Bayo frowned at the absurdity of the plan, but saw no other option. With reluctance, he agreed, hoping this would be the trick to save him. The day of the hearing arrived, and the small courtroom of Umunse was packed with villagers eager to witness the drama. Oba Adisa sat at the front, his face stern but composed. Chief Amara, the respected judge with an imposing presence, took his seat, ready to dispense justice. The crowd whispered in anticipation as the accused, Bayo, entered the room, or rather what remained of him. His appearance was unrecognizable. Dressed in torn rags, his hair wild and matted, and his face smeared with dirt, Bayo shuffled in with a vacant expression. A hush fell over the room as he stopped in front of Chief Amara. The judge raised an eyebrow, glancing between Bayo and Oba Adisa. This is the man you suspect of theft? He asked, his deep voice echoing through the room. Oba Adisa nodded, his gaze fixed on Bayo. Yes, Chief, I'm certain of it. Chief Amara turned to Bayo. You stand accused of stealing 2 bags of gold from Oba Adisa. What do you have to say for yourself? Bayo stared blankly for a moment, then tilted his head and uttered, Moo. The crowd burst into laughter, but Chief Amara raised a hand for silence. Answer me properly, he commanded, his tone sharp. Bayo blinked and repeated, Moo moo. Chief Amara frowned, leaning back in his chair. Is this some kind of joke? Oba Adisa jumped to his feet. He's pretending, Chief. That man is no fool, he's a thief. But Bayo, sticking to Kweku's plan, swayed side to side, humming softly before blurting out another moo. His act of madness was convincing enough that the crowd began to murmur. One villager whispered, He does seem a little touched in the head. Another added, Would a sane man behave like this in front of Chief Amara? The judge observed Bayo for several moments, then sighed. Without clear evidence and with his current state, I cannot, in good conscience, convict him. Oba Adisa's jaw clenched in frustration. But Chief, my decision is final, Chief Amara interrupted. This man is either truly mad or an excellent actor, but I have no proof of guilt. Case dismissed. The villagers erupted into chatter as the court adjourned. Some pitied Oba Adisa, while others chuckled at Bayo's bizarre performance. Bayo, still muttering moo, stumbled out of the courtroom, a free man. But as soon as he was out of sight, he straightened his posture and let out a sigh of relief. It worked, he muttered under his breath, a sly grin spreading across his face. That evening, Bayo returned to Kweku's hut, the stolen gold safely hidden in his satchel. The wise man greeted him with a knowing look. Well? Kweku asked. It worked like magic, Bayo replied. They let me go. And my payment? Kweku said, extending a hand. Bayo hesitated, his grin fading. A new thought had taken root in his mind. If he could deceive a courtroom, what was stopping him from deceiving Kweku? After all, the wise man wasn't as intimidating as Chief Amara. Your payment, Bayo said slowly, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Then, to Kweku's surprise, he threw his hands in the air, swayed side to side, and said, "Moo." Kweku's expression darkened as he realized Bayo had no intentions of keeping his promise. Kweku's hut grew deathly quiet as Bayo stood before him, grinning triumphantly. The clever thief thought himself untouchable, emboldened by his recent escape from justice. "Is that your answer?" Kweku asked, his voice calm but laced with menace. Bayo chuckled, swaying mockingly. "Moo moo," he repeated, his grin widening. The wise man's sharp eyes narrowed. "I gave you freedom, Bayo. I saved you from the gallows. And this is how you repay me?" Still pretending to be mad, Bayo twirled in place and let out another exaggerated moo. Kweku's patience wore thin. Rising slowly from his seat, he leaned on his staff and said, "You think yourself clever, but your greed blinds you. You may have fooled the court, but you will not make a fool of me." Bayo froze for a moment, his grin faltering, but he quickly recovered. "What will you do, old man? Curse me!" he scoffed, his tone dripping with mockery. Kweku smiled faintly, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile that sent shivers down one's spine. He raised his hand, and his voice took on a commanding tone, reverberating through the small hut. "Since you have chosen madness as your shield," Kweku declared, "let it be your punishment as well. From this moment forward, your tongue will speak no words, and the sound you mocked shall be the only sound you make." The air in the hut grew heavy, as though the very walls held their breath. Bayo's laughter caught in his throat. He opened his mouth to speak, but found that no words would come. He stammered, but all that emerged was a low, pitiful moo. Panic filled his eyes as he clutched his throat. He tried again and again, but each attempt brought only the same humiliating sound. "Moo." Kweku lowered his hand, his face stern but resolute. "You thought yourself untouchable. Now you will know what it means to be powerless." Bayo dropped to his knees, his eyes pleading with Kweku. He pointed to his throat, shaking his head desperately. "It is done," Kweku said coldly. "Your greed and deceit have silenced you forever." Bayo's mind raced. He reached into his satchel, pulled out one of the stolen gold bags, and held it out to Kweku in a desperate plea. The wise man shook his head. "It is too late, Bayo. Keep your ill-gotten gains. They will bring you no joy." Turning his back on the mute thief, Kweku left the hut, his staff tapping rhythmically against the ground. The sound faded into the distance, leaving Bayo alone with his curse. The once confident thief wandered through Umunzi, clutching his gold but unable to speak a single word. His attempts to explain himself to the townsfolk only resulted in mockery. Children followed him in the streets, mimicking his pitiful moo, and laughing at the sight of the once clever man reduced to a figure of ridicule. Bayo's isolation deepened. He could not bargain, he could not reason, and he could not defend himself against accusations. The very gold he had stolen became a heavy burden, for he had no one to share it with, no way to enjoy it, and no escape from the curse that bound him. In the quiet of the night, Bayo sat alone, staring at the gold that had cost him everything. He tried to cry out, to express his regret, but all that came was a mournful, lonely moo. Bayo, stripped of his voice by Kweku's curse, wakes the next morning to a grim realization. His ill-gotten gains mean nothing without the ability to communicate or enjoy his new wealth. The stolen gold, once gleaming with promise, now feels like a burden he cannot escape. Days turn to weeks, and Bayo becomes an outcast in Umunse. People whisper about his strange silence and erratic behavior, linking him to the theft of Oba Adisa's fortune. Although they lack proof, suspicion alone is enough to keep them at a distance. Bayo's former confidence fades, replaced by desperation. Unable to explain himself or seek aid, he descends into loneliness. One evening, as the sun sets over Umunse, Bayo finds himself sitting by the river that borders the town. He holds one of the stolen gold coins in his hand, its shine dimmed in the fading light. He tries to scream, a cry for help, a plea for redemption, but only silence greets him. Frustrated, he hurls the coin into the water and watches it sink, ripples distorting the reflection of his anguished face. Oba Adisa, meanwhile, has recovered from the initial shock of the theft. Although his wealth is diminished, he takes solace in the support of his community, who rally around him in his time of need. Sitting in his courtyard one afternoon, he reflects on the transience of material possessions. Gold may shine, he muses aloud to a group of friends, but it's the bonds we share that truly enrich our lives. His words spread throughout Umunze, serving as a lesson to others. Back at his modest dwelling, Kweku, the wise man, feels a lingering unease. Though he punished Bayo for his deceit, he cannot shake the guilt of his own role in enabling the thief. His once proud reputation is now marred by whispers of his involvement, and he spends his days in quiet contemplation. Sitting under the village's ancient baobab tree, he often watches children play, their laughter a stark contrast to the heavy silence that now dominates his life. Bayo becomes a familiar sight in Umunse, wandering the streets with sunken eyes and a hunched posture. People avoid him, but parents point him out to their children as a cautionary tale. "See that man?" they whisper. "He thought he could cheat and steal, but now he's paying the price." Bayo's presence serves as a living reminder of the dangers of greed and dishonesty. One rainy night, Bayo's path crosses with Oba Adisa's. The wealthy gentleman, sheltered under an umbrella, pauses as he sees the thief sitting in the mud, drenched and shivering. For a moment, their eyes meet. Bayo's silent plea is clear, but Oba Adisa, remembering his own words about the bonds of community, merely nods and walks away. The act is not one of spite, but of acceptance that Bayo's fate is now beyond anyone's control. As the rain washes over him, Bayo closes his eyes, consumed by the weight of his choices. He clutches his remaining coins tightly, their cold metal a stark reminder of his downfall. The story of the thief and the wise man becomes a legend in Umunze, passed down through generations as a tale of greed, betrayal, and the enduring power of integrity.